make a video.
Dang, Titus, are you sure you're okay, bro?
I think so.
All right, well, hello everyone. Welcome to Season 3, Episode 1 of Why Christianity. Today, we're gonna be primarily focusing on the purpose of life, and we're gonna ask a few people their views on what the purpose of life is.
We did our research. This is where we ended up.
This is Why Christianity. All right, so in today's episode, we're going to be asking 3 different people of varying age and faith what they think the meaning of life is. So we're going to be kind of analyzing what they say and comparing it to the diagram that Mr. Bird taught us about. So yeah, let's get into it. We started off our journey by deciding to talk to a Why Christianity regular in Caleb Ruff. Do you want to ask him?
No.
Put your mask on! Once he decided to stop spreading COVID and put his mask on, we went downstairs and asked him some questions.
Today's video is sponsored by Zevia, 0 calories. So has this ever happened to you? Well, you're thirsty. And Zevia has the answer for you. Buy Zevia, 0 calories, using our code TitusIsHot for 20% off. What do you think the purpose of life is?
From a Christian perspective, I think it's to glorify God. From a secular perspective, I honestly have no idea what the purpose of life is.
After Caleb answered his first question, we showed him a picture of the diagram and explained it a little. Then we asked him the next question.
In your life, where would you place yourself on the diagram?
Either moral choice or for Christ. Or I want to say in between, but if I'm being really honest, it'd probably be moral choice.
Now that you've seen the diagram, what do you think our called purpose is?
So, I think all those ideas on the diagram are important, but they shouldn't be our main focus. Our main focus in life should be solely around God, and not, tending the garden and working is important, but there's also the other end of the spectrum for that, where rest and relaxation is important as well, and God actually commands that in the 10 Commandments of keep the Sabbath day holy. So I think, everything on that diagram is important, but we shouldn't prioritize one over the other unless it's solely God. Yeah.
So Caleb's answers were actually very insightful. He didn't really know what the meaning of life was at first, but he just knew that God needed to be at the center. After he looked at the diagram, he said that all the components were important, but we just need to be doing it all with God as the focus. And he's completely right, because if God isn't at the center of our actions, then we're living for ourselves rather than for him. After we said bye to Caleb, our next mission was to find Mr. Wolkey and ask him those same questions.
All right, Mr. Wolkey, what is your view on the purpose of life?
So the Bible talks, I believe it's in Ecclesiastes, it says, fear God and obey his commands, for this is the whole duty of man. So that's kind of a quick summary of what the purpose of life is. If I was to kind of even simplify that further, I would say that it's worship. And at one point, they summoned all the churches together and kind of asked what the purposes of life to get a formal sort of ecumenical response about what the purpose is. And they basically came to the conclusion that the purpose is to worship God, which is in line with what Ecclesiastes says. So that's what I would say, and I would add to that one day when we get to heaven, it seems to be that's the thing that we do perpetually for the rest of eternity.
After Mr. Wolkey's first response, Titus showed him the diagram, and then we asked him the next question.
Okay, having seen the diagram, I think at first I would tend towards relationship. But after looking at it, they revolve around each other a lot, because in that relationship with Christ, we find rest, we find a need to tend to the garden. So maybe by simply focusing on one, we ignore some of the other attributes that are really important too. So I think if I was to sit down with the creator of this diagram, I would have a better sense of what they meant by the center being Christ alone, because I think that kind of Christ alone kind of picture is maybe cover a bunch of different purposes that can be derived, or I think maybe a lot of the people in the four different corners are in fact talking the same language, just coming at it from different angles, if that makes sense.
Now, Mr. Wolkey's answers were pretty interesting. He was correct in saying that all of them were important and that needed Christ to be at the center. But he actually said when you have Christ, each component relates to each other. And I think that's very interesting. Hi. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Why Christianity. Big shout out to the people that we interviewed, and thank you to our sponsor Zevia. Make sure you guys use our code TITUSISHOT for 20% off on your first order. And yeah, that's about gonna do it for today's episode. So stay tuned for the next one. Bye.
This video is over now.
What is your opinion on the purpose of life?
What is your opinion?
Yeah.
Is that what I said?
Yeah.
Opinion? That's not what I meant.
What do you think
Yeah.
is the purpose of life?
Yeah, isn't that what I said?
No. You said opinion. Yeah.
I think we gotta check the playback footage because I don't remember saying opinion. What do you think the purpose of life is? Are you ready for this? Watch this. Yep. Component relates when you have Christ. You know?
Yeah.
I just needed you to say yes.
What is this, TikTok?
No.
Definitely don't want to be on.
It's for a Bible project. Yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
You idiot.